Hi, I'm Emily and I'm the head chef at Allpress in London. I'm going to show you how to make some hot cross buns to have with your coffee on Easter Sunday. So, step one, I've got 200 ml of whole milk warming on the stove. I'm going to add 20 grams of yeast to a small bowl, 1 teaspoon of caster sugar, just while my milk's warming through, I'm just going to break up the yeast slightly so that it dissolves quicker. With the milk, you want it to be just above body temperature, so if you stick your finger in, it should just feel slightly warm. You don't want it to be too hot because it's going to kill the yeast. So, when the milk's warm through, just pour it over. And we're going to set that aside for 10 minutes. Okay, step two, I've got my yeast and milk activating to one side. I'm going to melt 100 grams of butter on the stove. While that's melting, I'm going to mix together my flour and all my different spices and salt and the remainder of the sugar. So use a whisk and you just want to make sure that it's all evenly distributed. I'm going to make a well in the centre. And then we're going to take 2 eggs. Give those a good whisk till they're all broken up. Okay. Once we've got our melted butter, eggs, and our yeast, which has been sitting aside, it should have started foaming on the top like this and created a sort of layer. So once we've got all those things ready, just give our yeast a little whisk through. Then we're going to add the butter, our yeast mixture, the beaten eggs, and then we're going to bring this all together. Use a metal spoon or a fork and just bring it in from the edges. So that should come together and start forming like a rough dough. You want to make sure you get all the flour from the edges whisked in. Okay, as you can see, it's like come together and it's quite sticky. At this point, we're going to flour a work surface. And turn our dough out. Okay, so step 3, we've got our dough turned out onto a floured work surface. We're going to bring it in from the edges to create a smooth dough. If it starts to stick, just add a little bit more flour. Okay, now this is a really important step. We're going to knead the dough for about 10 minutes to create gluten. That's going to give us a really nice texture inside our buns. So to knead the dough, make sure you've got plenty of flour. We're going to push down with the palm of our hands, and then we're going to fold in. And we're just going to keep doing that. And this is working the dough to create the gluten. Don't be afraid to add more flour if it still feels sticky. You want to get to the point where it's really elastic and smooth. Okay, stage 4, we need to prove the dough. So we've been kneading it for about 10 minutes. It's gotten really stretchy. You should be able to pull the edges away from each other and see all the strands of gluten that are formed. It looks a little bit like the inside of a cooked loaf of bread. If you see this, you're good to go. If it doesn't quite look like that, I would give it another couple of minutes. So, just round it into a nice ball. can use the bottom of your hands just to pinch it under. And then I'm going to put this into a bowl, and I've just put a really light coating of oil so that it doesn't stick. So we're going to pop that in, and then I'm going to cover it with a damp tea towel and put it somewhere nice and warm for about an hour or until it's doubled in size. Airing cupboard, on top of the boiler, in the sun, wherever you can find. Okay, stage 5. We've had the dough proving for just over an hour and it's doubled in size, you can see. I can even see like some bubbles have formed in it, so that's really good. So flour the work surface, and we're going to turn our dough out. This stage we're knocking the dough back. So we're going to use our fist. We're going to knock all the air out of the dough. Then we're going to take our dried fruit. We've got currants, raisins, mixed peel and stem ginger. Pour them on and then spread them out evenly. So then we're gonna knead the dough again for a couple of minutes just to combine all this fruit. Again, just using the palm of our hand, use your body weight. It's not super easy to get it all in, but just try and collect it all up from the work surface. Okay, once we've kneaded that for a couple of minutes, we're going to move on to the second prove. To do this, we're going to take a lined baking tray. We're going to roll our dough into I think this is the easiest way, roll it into a log. Once we're happy that all the fruit's evenly mixed through, we're going to portion it into our 16 buns. So the easiest way is to stretch it into a log. Try and make sure that it's roughly even in thickness all the way down. And then we're going to split it in 2, then into 4, and then we want to make it into 8 each side. Cool, so once you've marked it out, make sure you've got enough. And then we're just going to split it out. Do it roughly. If any look too big, we can always redistribute. So I've got a couple of really small ones there, so I'll just take a bit from the bigger ones. Cool, so once we've got our 16 even portions, we're gonna roll them into a ball and put them in our tray. Don't worry if they're not perfect balls, obviously they're gonna prove again anyway. So once you're happy with the shape of your buns, just make sure they're nicely spaced out. I think when we cook them, they are going to come together anyway, but you don't want any really falling on top of each other. So I'm going to just cover that with a damp tea towel again and just pop it back where we had it before. And we're going to just let these double in size again. It's probably going to take about half an hour to 40 minutes. Okay, step 6. While the buns are proving, we're going to make the crosses to put on top. So I've got 3 tablespoons of plain flour, and I'm just going to add 4 tablespoons of cold water. Give that a good mix. You might need to add a little bit more, but just go half a spoonful at a time now because you don't want it to get too wet. piping back. So you want it to be able to be piped, but you don't want it too thin where it's running off the edges. Might need to give this a bit of a beat. Cool, that's looking good. So yeah, it's still quite thick, but it's runny enough to be piped. So I'm using a piping bag, but if you don't have these at home, then you could use like a freezer bag or a sandwich bag. Just cut the corner off. So scrape it all in there. And then just push it down with your forearm. Give it a swing round. Just make sure there's no air. And then pinch it down, and just to make it easier, you can tie it like that, or if you're using a sandwich bag, probably you won't need to. Cool, and that's good to go. Step 7. We've taken the buns out, they've doubled in size. I've snipped the end of my piping bag, and I'm just gonna go over with the crosses. Don't worry if you run out of the paste, because obviously it's very quick to just knock up a bit more with some more water and flour, but you should have enough for this amount. Great, now it's time to put them in the oven. I've preheated my oven to 190 degrees Celsius. They'll take between 15 and 20 minutes. Obviously everyone's oven varies, so just check them after 15 and they should be nice and golden. So they've been in the oven for 15 minutes, and you can see they've gone nice and golden. I've given them a glaze with a bit of warm honey, but obviously that's optional. Looking forward to tucking into one with my coffee on Sunday.